What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Combat Lounge. Today, I have a very special guest for you, Ray Longo. Let's get started.
Now fires back. Oh, there's Fury with the right hand. Wilder's hurt. Wilder's hurt. He wobbled. He almost fell over into the ropes. He is close to going out.
Ray Longo, how's it going, my man?
I'm good. Nice to see you, buddy.
Yeah, man. We've been trying to get each other, kept missing each other, man, but it's great to have you, man. But let's get started, man. So what inspired you to can you tell everyone what inspired you to like start coaching athletes and kind of mentoring them, where it all started?
Oh, man, that's years ago. I started actually with boxing and kickboxing. I was really just a martial arts guy, and, a couple of guys wanted to fight, and we had great success. One guy became a world kickboxing champ. I had a couple of Golden Glove winners, and I started really just, liking it, and like even putting my training on the back burner just to, make sure those guys were getting their training in. And then by the time jiu-jitsu came around, probably in like the early 90s, like when I met Matt Serra, I was, I already had like a striking gym and I had a reputation on Long Island. So I kind of became the guy, for the stand-up. And then from there, it just escalated on and on and on. But I always, after the first couple of fights, I really fell in love with coaching more than I thought I would.
Yeah, man. And like you've been around for a lot of history too. Like you were coaching Matt Serra, correct?
Yeah.
100%. And like he pulled off like probably might be still the biggest upset in UFC history. But then you talk about a guy like Chris Weidman, and it's like then he comes and does the next big upset in UFC history, not once but twice. And now you're with Aljo, so it's like you have a lot of experience coaching these guys, But if you had to rank those memories, man, where would you put them?
Oh man, they're all good, and I would never rank them and make somebody feel worse than somebody else. They're just they're just all great memories, man. It's been a great ride. Probably won't be around, coaching much longer, probably. But it's. Traveled all over the world, been in those big events, in the history books forever. It's a great. The sport really, I had a blast with everything.
Is Sarah and Weidman still down there at the gym coaching?
No, Sarah is, but Weidman during COVID moved to South Carolina.
Oh, okay. So you don't get to see him very often anymore?
No, definitely not. I spoke to him today, but I don't see him. I'll see him. He'll be in Jersey in a couple of weeks. I'll catch up with him. But yeah, it kind of sucks. During COVID, we lost a lot of people. Everybody just bailed out, and was I'm not saying hurt the team, but it was we lost some big people that were great influences on all the younger guys coming up.
Yeah, and before we get into like Aljo's camp and Marab and all those guys, I was there at Bellator 293. I got to see Justin Montalvo, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
He fought Archie Colgan, two very good up-and-comers. It didn't go Justin's way. When you go back and watch that fight, or you're sitting cage side watching a fight like that, for a younger guy like Justin. Where did that go wrong, and what do you think he could have maybe done better to come out on top?
Honestly, man, I think Archie came out strong, but I thought Justin was coming back, and I think he just zigged when he should have zagged. He got caught with a punch, and Archie capitalized on it. So I think it's one of those things where if they fight 10 times, they'll go 5-5. I think Justin. That was a good fight. He was, he had him up against the cage, and hats off to Archie, man. Really good job he did. He caught him, and then he capitalized on it by following him down to the ground, which if he would have stood him back up again, I think it would have been a different fight. So, it's just one of those things where I think he just got caught. I liked where he was at in the position of in the time of the fight. I mean, the beginning was a little rough, but once he weathered that, he started coming back with body shots, and I thought it was looking more towards him. He might have got too comfortable, maybe looking to knock him out, and maybe that was the problem. But besides that, I thought Justin did a great job.
Yeah, and is it kind of one of those fights where like Justin comes back and gets a couple victories? Like we'd like to have that one back.
I think so, yeah, and I think that look, he's a great talent. He was a big favorite in that fight, so I think they have their eyes set on moving him up. He's going to do great. He's a tough kid, and
he's got a great camp too, actually.
Yeah, he's got a great camp, so he's in the right spot. So hopefully, Justin comes back, like you say, he rattles off, 3 or 4 fights. I mean, the problem is, Justin came off a year layoff. And those guys probably should have fought maybe 5 fights down the line. I think they're both really talented guys, and that was a little early for for both of them. Worked out good for Archie, so hats off to him. But I think they will meet again if Justin goes on a run, and I know Archie's going to go on a run. He's solid, man, for sure. And then we'll see what happens. It'll make for a great rematch.
Yeah, because. Like, I saw that fight got made once, then it got canceled, and then did Justin fight after that?
No.
Okay, so that's when he took his layoff.
He had surgery, yeah.
Okay. So then they looked at it like, let's get it booked again, and you're saying, well, maybe we should have waited a couple more fights.
I would have liked to have said that. That's a tough fight. Knew it was tough back then, but at least he was a little more active,
Well, hey, man, hats off to him. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for a guy like Justin in Bellator, and I think he'll come back strong, man. I have no doubts about it. I think that like I said, the fighters, especially the young up and comers, trying to make a name for themselves. Bellator is a pretty good spot for them right now.
Oh no, he's a good kid, and he's got good hands, man.
Yeah,
normally he eats that punch and comes back, so we'll see what happens. But I think he's in a good spot either way.
Yeah, layoffs don't help either. This is a sport where, activity helps. But so I want to get onto this because, Aljo, for instance, so he fights Jan and takes the knee to the head. And then, he's out for a while. And then he comes back, I believe, and fights Jan again. And a year later or a year and a half later?
Year plus, probably.
Yeah, a year plus. Okay. He looked better in that fight. Was it something mentally that was just like, you know what, I gotta show out like this. I gotta beat this guy in this type of fashion, or was it something that was bugging, like a pre-existing injury in the previous fight that was bugging Aljo, before he took the knee? Because Peter was getting the best of him a little bit in that fight, but the second fight, it wasn't the same fight.
Yeah, I mean, look, what Aljo told me is that he miscalculated his food, and by the time he fought, he was deleted. So he tightened that up. That's the only difference he made. Basically the same camp, and I guess when you get tired like that, and I think he had an adrenaline dump plus that, and I mean, to be able to sit out a year and wait, and it speaks to his mental game and his fortitude, and he definitely wasn't going to let that happen the second time. And I thought he had a great fight the second fight.
Yeah, and then now he came out and he handled TJ Dillashaw pretty, no disrespect, but easily. And now he's going to fight Cejudo, who's coming off a long layoff. But, Cejudo's done this before. He's no slouch. He has a great history in the sport. Probably a tougher end for Styles. But how's Aljo feeling in camp right now for this fight? And how are, just kind of how are things looking?
I mean, I just left him while we were texting before a couple hours ago. And he looked great. He's had a really good camp, and I expect Aljo to knock it out of the park on May 6th.
Yeah, what kind of – it's kind of hard to say this, right, because Aljo's your fighter. You're the one training him. But what kind of strengths does Henry or problems does he present to a guy like, Aljo?
Look, I think, obviously Henry's another guy, mentally strong. I think he's a student of the game. He's an Olympic champ wrestler, so his mindset's going to be dead on. I think Henry knows how to compete, and Henry's on a roll. He's very confident, and I think maybe he might underestimate Aljo a little bit. I think he sees something that he thinks he can exploit, but I think that'll change once he's in the octagon with Aljo for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and I don't want to step on no toes when I ask this question. So if you can't really answer it, don't answer it. But I just want to ask you, there's a lot of rumors kind of going around, and I feel like maybe you could clear them up if you can. But if Aljo was to beat Henry Cejudo, Merab's standing right there, and those two are like, we're not fighting each other. Those are brothers.
Right.
And they're like, it's not going to happen. Stop asking about it. Does Aljo have a move up to 145 in his near future?
I would think so. Look, the first thing is with Merab. Merab's going to go in for hand surgery, it looks like. So he's going to be sidelined a while. And you just got O'Malley. I mean, Aljo beats Cejudo. The only fight left for him is O'Malley. And then after that, I think he would move up. And by that time, that's not going to be – that's it. I think Aljo will think seriously about moving up. But there's only two fights. It's Cejudo and O'Malley. And O'Malley's, I think, kind of promised a title shot. So Merab really shouldn't even be in the picture. He's right there. But, nobody said that, he could have the winner of these two. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and do you think that fight with Aljo, is a must? It has to happen? If he gets through Henry Cejudo on May 6th, him and O'Malley have to fight before he even moves up.
Me personally, I think so, yeah. I think that's a fight people probably wanted to see more than Aljo and Cejudo. But I think O'Malley wanted to take more time off, because I think he got exposed a little bit on the wrestling with Jan even. So Aljo right now will be a little too much for him on the floor. But his O'Malley striking is second to none. He's long, he's lanky, hits hard, he's accurate. So I don't know. I mean, I think people would have rather have seen O'Malley against Aljo instead of Cejudo, because Cejudo hasn't been around for a couple of years.
So let's get to Merab, actually.
Yeah.
Let's get to Merab, because Aljo puts on a good performance against Petr Yan.
Right.
But Merab comes out and just starches him, man. It wasn't even a fight, in my opinion. And I'm not being disrespectful.
Crazy A+ performance from Merab.
Yeah, man. I to be honest, Ray, I thought, you know what? Jan might present some problems because his takedown defense is just so good. But Merab came into that fight with the mentality that I don't care how good your takedown defense is. If I shoot 50 times, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to take you down, and it doesn't matter.
The guy doesn't stop, I'll be honest with you. But if I had to pick a perfect way for that fight to go, that was the fight that you saw. That was the best case scenario. He had Jan guessing. He didn't know if he was striking, shooting, kicking, punching. And, man, he could do that. He could have won another 2 or 3 rounds. I just see it in the gym. Crazy cardio.
Yeah, man, okay, so those were the two things that surprised me.
Yeah.
Well, not the wrestling of Merab. I knew he had it in that sense. The cardio of Merab. I was like, wow, after that much time shooting, the fight he just put on, the pace he fought at, and after the fight, he wasn't even breathing hard, just tells me how hard of a worker he is and how dedicated he is. And two, the striking really surprised me in Merab because I thought Piotr would have got the best of him in that department. But I think what happened is that Piotr was so worried about him shooting in that Merab was able to have some success and do well on standing up with Piotr Jan.
100% accurate. And Merab does hit hard. You know what I mean? So he's not fearful of anything. So he'll sit in the pocket. And like you said, Jan didn't know if he was going to kick, punch, go for a takedown. And that's what changes everything. That slight hesitation. And then all of a sudden you're getting, outstruck at the game that you do. And you try to push a little hard, you get taken down. It's frustrating. That fight, it had to be just a nightmare for Peter Yan.
Well, Piotr Yan didn't exactly help with adding fuel to Merab's fire during that week because the stun he pulled with the face-offs, and then Merab, when he confronted him before the face-offs, it didn't seem like Yan wanted confrontation. Then they're standing there with a guy in the middle, and he takes that shot at Merab, and it's like, okay, Merab, that probably had something to do with Merab, more fielded, his mindset going into that fight. Like, I have to beat this guy. He can't just shove me like that, but yeah, he definitely didn't help there. But, what would you say is next for Merab then at 135 now that the belt's, not an option right now?
I'd love to see him in Sandhagen. Sandhagen called him out after the last fight. I think that's a tremendous fight for both guys. That's the fight I'd like to see.
Nice. If you're predicting the Aljamain and Henry Cejudo fight, how do you see that fight playing out?
I say possibly Henry gets strangled, unconscious. That's the way I see it playing out.
Nice. And then on to Justin Montalvo. What would be next for him? I would assume that he did take a loss, but it's like one of those things where I'm assuming he might want to be getting back in the cage by the end of the year, or no later than early next year.
No, I'd like to see him get back in sooner than that. I think he'll be ready to go in another 2 months. I think the quicker he gets in there and gets a win, it'll help him mentally. He took the loss kind of hard. But I think he's a talented kid, and he didn't get to show everything he could do.
Do you think, and back to Merab, do you think Merab and Sandhagen can happen before the end of the year?
I mean, it depends. Where are we in April, May? Yeah, towards the end of the year. I mean, he's going to definitely get, I'm almost sure he's going to get hand surgery because it's really bothering him. And I don't know what the time frame would be on that, but it's not going to be 2 or 3 months, I don't think. But, yeah, I'm going to say that I could see that by the end of the year.
Okay. Let's get it on to you, Ray. When you're not coaching at the gym, what are you doing?
I'm just hanging out with the family, watching TV, playing the guitar, bullshitting, going out to eat. No, normal shit.
What's your favorite food out there?
You know what I've been really digging lately? There's a Vietnamese place by me that's absolutely fantastic. Everything's fresh, and I get like a barbecue chicken and rice and salad. It's really, really good. It's healthy, and it's a great place, man. But I'm really loving that more than anything now.
Do you have any favorite songs you like to play on your guitar? I heard you say you play guitar, so.
Yeah, no, I play anything I could play. I don't play guitar. I try to play guitar. I should have rephrased that, but any Zeppelin songs I could play, I'm happy to.
Nice.
That's always good. I'm an old school rock and roll guy.
Do you have any like favorite movies or shows you watch?
Favorite movies or shows. I mean, the shows change all the time. Man, I'm a big guy. Look, movie-wise, Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. I like all the mob genre movies. Anything with sex, money, and violence, you count me in.
Do you have any grandchildren or anything like that?
No, believe it or not. I got 2 daughters, 28 and 27, but no grandkids, which is
No grandkids.
fine by me.
Well, so tell me real quick before we end this thing, as I know you said Aljo's feeling good, you just saw him and everything like that. At what point do you start like cutting weight and starting that process with Aljo? Like, a lot of people say, maybe you can answer this. A lot of people say he's really big for 135. Does he have a problem cutting weight, or is it pretty simple? When do you kind of start that process?
I think he's already started, and he knows like at certain, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, where his weight is normally. I think he's right on target with that. I don't think, and look, I'm not the weight cutting guy. I don't really get involved with that, but I don't think any of these guys is going to tell you they like making weight. I don't care who you are, So, but I think he's got it down to a science now. We come a long way with nutrition and the water loading and all that stuff. But, everybody does it different too. But he's always dead on with his weight. He's very methodical. And, as of today, I think he's right where he wants to be.
Perfect, man. That's great to hear. I hope both fighters make weight. We get to see that classic. I think Aljamain Sterling is very underrated in terms of bantamweights. Henry Cejudo's as good as it gets at that division. I think if Aljo was to get it done, I think if both fighters were to get it done, it's a huge win for each of their careers. And I think there's a reason Henry's coming back to fight Aljo. I don't think it's because Henry wants to come back like that. I think he knows how important it would be to add a guy like Aljo to his resume if he could try to. And Aljo, same thing. I think Aljo, this would be a huge win for him over Henry Cejudo. So, yeah, man. But anyways, guys, this is Ray Longo. It was so great having you, my friend. Tell the people where they can find you on social media. I know you don't post too much, but if you want them to follow you or anything like that, where can they find Ray Longo?
I think Twitter's the only thing I'm on now. I mean, they hacked into my Instagram. I never got it back. So there is an account. I think it's Ray Longo MMA 9358. Don't ask me what the hell that even stands for. Somebody did it for me. But you're right. I haven't really been posting because I kept thinking I was going to get my account back, but that was like a year ago. And then I said, you know what? It's not that bad being off of social media. So it's all good, but that's about it.
Ray, thanks for coming, my friend. Hang out backstage. I'm going to take you out of the show for just a second, and we'll meet up back there. Thank you. Until next time.
Now fires back. Oh, there's Fury with the right hand.